Hey, did you know that rules governing the investment practices of CPAs prohibit them from investing in the stock of a company that a firm audits?
Yeah, the SEC became concerned that some accountants were violating this rule. In response, the SEC did an investigation with PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they fired 10 people and spent $25 million educating their employees about investment rules and installing an investment tracking system.
All right. So, with all that said, why do you think these rules exist that restrict these auditors from investing in companies that are audited by their firms?
Well, they are in charge of managing a company's financial records. Some auditors might be tempted to give a company they invest in some leeway if they can make an extra buck. The purpose of an audit is to have an independent third-party auditor to look at the financial records with no connection to the company. And if the auditor had a connection to the company, integrity could be lost. Some accountants argue that they should be allowed to invest in a company's stock as long as they themselves aren't involved in working in the company's audits or consulting. What do you think of this idea?
Well, I'm gonna have to say no to that. Whether or not the auditor is directly affiliated with that company, they may still have access to financial records, history, or other important information. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or SOX for short, was created to reduce unethical corporate behaviors like this. SOX does this by forcing top management to certify the accuracy of all financial information. A very high percentage of publicly traded companies are in fact audited by only 4 public accounting firms. Due to this, these firms also have a high percentage of the consulting work done in all of these companies. How does this fact complicate the decision regarding whether CPAs should be allowed to invest in these companies?
It complicates it because a CPA in one of those 4 accounting firms would be unable to invest in most publicly held companies. It would be unfair to everyone else investing because the CPA would potentially have access to private financial information that could give them a future insight on the company's profits. This would let the CPA investor know when a good time to buy or sell would be. We see how this could be seen as unfair to the CPA, but the risk of corruption is too great.
Couldn't agree more with that.
Take this. Suppose you were a CPA and you invested in IBM when IBM was one of your firm's clients. 2 years later, after IBM's stock prices had fallen considerably, your firm won the IBM audit contract. You would be involved in working with the IBM audit. You would know that your firm's rules require that you sell your shares immediately. If you do sell immediately, you would sustain a large loss. Do you think this is fair? What do you do?
Well, I would have to say that it's not entirely fair, but still ethically correct. It is unlikely that the CPA's firms decided to acquire IBM overnight. So, in my opinion, the CPA probably had plenty of time to prepare for this. I would sell to protect myself and my job from any legal issues if this happened to me. So finally, why do you think PricewaterhouseCoopers took such extreme steps in response to the SEC investigation?
PricewaterhouseCoopers took such an extreme step in order to regain customer confidence and trust. Also, questionable accounting practices harms and turns away potential investors. This would decrease the company's stock price and could possibly bankrupt them.
Wow, now I fully understand investment practices and the ethics behind them. Thanks, Allison.
You're welcome, Luke.